Hello and welcome to the mill. I am your host, Dusty Crane, and this week doing a little recording from my home office because we are fostering for a couple of weeks a new dog, and she is awesome, but she is just obsessed with tennis balls, and if I am not throwing it, she is going to be all over this video and not in a constructive way. So we're going to do this here. It's probably going to be a little bit of a quicker one. First of all, before I even begin, if you saw last week's video where we talked about the state of the mill and just really worked on the transparency, I want to take a chance to voice my appreciation for everybody who contributed to the discussion, who had something to help make sure that this channel is as transparent as possible. So thank you so much. Let's go ahead and get into the meat of this episode, though. We're going to talk, even though it's late in March, we're going to talk the March 2020 Stonemaier newsletter. And the reason I wanted to do it was, there was a little bit of stuff in there, but a lot of it was around the Libertalia Winds of Galcrest pre-order, which, no question, we already know all about now. There's some really cool doubloons. There's a new Rolling Realm. It's so hard to say that sometimes. Rolling Realms realm. And so that was the meat and potatoes of it, right? And if you're vegetarian, I'm sorry, that was the potatoes and something else delicious. In any case, so we talked about that in the newsletter. The second thing, though, that kind of was a smaller line item that we missed was, or that I almost read right over, was that on the retail release date of Libertalia Winds of Galcrest, which is April 24th, I'm just checking my notes, April 24th, it's actually going to be available on Tabletopia too. Now, Tabletopia, I love the look of it. I don't necessarily love the functionality of it as much as I do Board Game Arena. Now, Board Game Arena doesn't hold a candle to how Tabletopia is able to present the game. But I don't know, it runs so much better for me. So I'm hoping that that's something that gets added soon. But in any case, if you have a subscription to Tabletopia, because I would assume this would be a premium title, maybe not, but if you have a subscription to Tabletopia, you can look out for Libertalia Winds of Galcrest on April 24th. Now, another thing that changed between February and March is we got a new structure for the way things look. So, we were used to the red, yellow, green, and it's still there, but there was also like the Stonemaier Games over top, and then underneath was the key, and now there's a new streamlined version that looks, in my opinion, I like it better. Now, I know there's going to be some people that like to throw back to the old, and that's fine. There's new icons, same information, but just, new way of presenting it. And so I thought we'd go ahead and go through what some of that stuff looks like. Let's check my notes here. So Viticulture's expansion is hanging around in freight shipping, which makes sense because Jamie is likely to start talking about that next month. And so right where we need to be there. And the Wingspansion has everything that was previously yellow is now green, and it's moved into graphic design. And I can tell you there's been a lot of proofreading around that title. And I really wish there was a way for you guys to, and I don't know if this is the way the sausage is made and they don't typically want to reveal or there's no value in it, but to me, as a proofreader, it has just been so cool to see like the state of the rule book when it first starts, which is just like a doc file, and how it progresses through playtest and feedback. And once it gets laid out and it looks like a rule book looks, just even once it's at that point, like how much change occurs based on, in our case, the feedback of the playtesters, the feedback of the proofreaders, the feedback of everyone that is a part of that collaboration. It's just, it's really, really cool, in my opinion, to have had that experience. So Wingspansion 3, moving in the right direction. I think on the Facebook live stream this week, I think Jamie actually said he's expecting an October release for this. Now, I don't know if that was October retail release or if that was October pre-order. In any case, I have to imagine that he's very, very close to being able to submit that to Panda for the pre-production stuff. But we will just have to wait and see what this this timeline shows us, because there is a period of time there where it's not like Jamie keeps us up to date when we're proofreading. It's we do our job, and then we it says, hey, these are the digital proofs. Does this look good to you guys? Everyone can take another look at it, and then we kind of go into the dark, and we'll get pictures of the pre-production copy, and we can look over those. But ultimately, we're kind of at that point, once we've handed it over, you're just kind of operating in the dark, and we'll start to see progress changes on that chart, just like you will. So so that is Wingspansion 2. I'm gonna step a little closer just to scroll this down. So let's look at the other code names that we have. We have Codename Draw, which remains the same from last month. We also have Hive, that has moved into art and design, so the solo design, so those went into yellow status. Wild is unchanged, but Crow has begun development and blind playtesting, so that's just moving right along. Crow is not a title that I am familiar with at all, and so if you're not a playtester, what do you think it is? Do you really think that Stonemaier is going to have two bird-centric, I guess, titles? We're gonna have Wingspan, and something else is Codename Crow. It seems like a lot of, I guess, groundwork for something that's just going to be an expansion. Although Wingspan, those expansions are out there, but I have to believe it's a different title. I do wonder if maybe we're getting, a little, Jamie, it's going to be Codename Crow is actually going to be like bragging on bragging on yourself, or I think I've joked in the past, like, the Hook movies, and you had Rufio who would crow, and something like that. Now, I don't know if Jamie wants to do any more branding stuff after Red Rising, although it sounds like, I think just in a blog post Jamie posted recently, oh gosh, please don't quote me, I'm going from memory here and I may be wrong, but I think he said something about that title, it's a year old and has already sold, was it I want to say 100,000, but maybe it was 50,000. In any case, it's doing well, especially for its first year. It's doing really well. So maybe it's not a bad idea to do another IP or something like that. But I guess we will see. So we also have Codename Fire and Codename Dive that are unchanged. But folks, we got a new code name this month. So in March newsletter, we have a new code name called Lost. Now, speaking of IPs, I can't imagine that there would be a title based on the TV show Lost at this point. So, but maybe there is. I never, honestly, even though that was kind of when I had time to dig into shows like that, I never really got into Lost. I never saw an episode. I know there's a smoke monster. Is that the reason why this game is called Lost? Is this game just, not a Lost game, but happens to have a smoke monster, and Jamie went, Lost. Are you lost at sea? Are you lost in the woods? Did Jamie lose a bet? And now he's making a game for somebody that, that he hadn't planned on it. I can't imagine that's it either. But Codename Lost is our new code name that we can start keeping an eye on. And let's... So that was our newsletter. But another thing that came up is next month in April, we can expect 2 newsletters. In fact, the next newsletter we're going to get is actually going to be on April 1st. Now, Stonemaier has been known to, originally they kind of avoided April 1st, but in recent time, they've started to, develop products, that are kind of silly. We had the chocolate covered wingspan eggs, kind of playing on the joke that people think those look like the little candy eggs. And so Jamie made, and Stonemaier made some little chocolate covered containers for them, or chocolate looking containers, not actual chocolate. And then we also had the little magnifying lens that, you know, was kind of a poke and a joke at the title, Between Two Castles maybe, that had the little iconography for the room types. So a little bit of a joke there too. And so what are we going to see this year? I can be completely honest with you, I have no idea. Obviously, it's not game related. I don't think it's anything that needed proofreading, because at least I wasn't involved in the proofreading of that, though certainly there may have been other proofreaders. But so I mean, I can't imagine it's a game anyway, right? So yeah, a new product. The only thing that I would imagine for sure we'll see is, I have to imagine that we'll see the return of the Stonemaier cat ears logo. And that was the Stonemaier. Here, I'll just pop it up here. I didn't really want to do any editing, but here we go anyway. I do this to myself. In any case, so the Stonemaier logo with cat ears, I have to imagine we'll see that again. It was cute. It's on brand. I think it's going to be there. Let's lean forward. Oh, you know what? On top of just having, and so that was the first newsletter. We're going to get an April 1st newsletter. In fact, we're actually going to get an April 1st live stream. So normally Jamie live streams on Facebook on Wednesday. He's going to do that again next week, but he's also going to be doing a live stream on April 1st to, I'm sure, to talk about whatever it is that they have, you know, planned for April 1st. So pretty cool. We got 2 live streams next week. We'll have the newsletter on April 1st, and then Jamie is expecting another newsletter later in the month to talk about the viticulture expansion. Now, I, in honor, to honor the disclosure and to be perfectly clear with you guys, I do know what's in there. In fact, I mentioned last week I had a copy under the table, still do. And I'm excited. I'm excited for Jamie to start talking about it, because, you know, there's stories too that he tells in these design diaries that we never hear about when you're proofreading a game. It's not something that comes up. So a lot of times these reveals, even though I know the rule book and I know what's in the game, it's really interesting for me anyway to learn the story behind the creation. I love the component diaries that sometimes come along with it, where, you know, Jamie talks about, like, so with Rolling Realms, here's the different variations of dice and that kind of thing I find really fascinating. So next week should be a fun one. We'll have more to talk about. I'm sure we'll be talking about that April 1st newsletter. And so, yeah, that is all I have for you this week. It felt a little weird to go back to the March newsletter, but there was a lot of good stuff there, and we were deep into the Libertalia reveals and doing the playthroughs and that type of thing. So didn't get to talk to you about it at that time, but, you know, I'm glad we circled back around to it. If you have any comments on any of this, if you've seen the newsletter, what do you think of the new layout of the progress? What do you think the April Fool's product, I'm assuming it's a product, is going to be? What do you think the viticulture expansion is going to look like? What's going to be in it? I'm really interested. And since we're talking about the stuff that we're going to see this year, do you have any clue what Codename Draw is? Because I haven't had a chance to look at that one yet. It's not been on my list of things to proofread. So I'm completely in the dark right now, as of, you know, right now here, the late March, as to what Draw could be. Do you have any ideas? And why not throw in what continent is the Wingspan expansion going to focus on this time? Why not? Let's just throw a whole bunch of questions out there. You guys certainly delivered in the comments last week, so that would be really cool to have those discussions again this week. So that is all I had for you this week. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.